The grand ballroom of the Phoenix Summit Hotel shimmered under the glow of crystal chandeliers. The annual charity gala for homelessness and child welfare was in full swing, filled with laughter, clinking glasses, and the hum of conversation. Elon Musk, dressed in an understated tuxedo, stood by the edge of the room, his expression contemplative as he listened to the keynote speaker recount stories of children navigating the harsh realities of homelessness. The stories hit harder than Elon anticipated. A young boy had once asked Santa for nothing more than a warm coat for his mother. A little girl wished for a stable roof over her family's heads. These weren't tales of extravagant wishes, but of basic survival. Elon's eyes shifted to a photo display near the stage, a collage of smiling children from shelters around the city. The juxtaposition of their bright faces and the grim reality of their circumstances stirred something deep within him. "Mr. Musk?" A voice interrupted his thoughts. He turned to see a woman with a kind smile, the event's lead organizer, extending her hand. "I'm Rachel. I just wanted to thank you for attending tonight. Your support means the world to us." Elon shook her hand firmly. "The work you're doing is incredible," he replied. "It's clear these children need more than just material support. It's about hope, isn't it?" Rachel nodded, her smile fading slightly. "Especially during the holidays. It's the hardest time of year for many of them. The season that's supposed to be about joy and family can feel like a cruel reminder of what they don't have." Her words lingered long after she walked away. Elon stared at the display again, his mind racing. He had spent years pushing boundaries in technology, transportation, and space. But this challenge, bringing joy to children who had so little, felt profoundly personal. That night, as the gala winded down, Elon leaned against the railing of the hotel balcony, staring out at the city lights. An idea formed, simple but irresistible. He would bring these children a holiday experience they would never forget. He would become Santa. The thought brought a rare smile to his face. It wasn't about grand gestures or headlines. This was about connecting with people on the most human level possible. With that, Elon Musk, billionaire innovator, began planning a journey unlike any he had undertaken before. Elon's private conference room buzzed with quiet urgency. His inner circle sat around the sleek table, laptops open and notepads ready. Elon stood at the head, his posture energized but deliberate, outlining his vision. "We're going to surprise a group of homeless children for Christmas," he began, pacing slowly. "But not as Elon Musk, as Santa." The room fell silent, but not from skepticism. Those who worked closely with him had come to expect the unconventional. One assistant, Lisa, broke the quiet. "You want to dress as Santa? Like, full beard, red suit, the whole thing?" "Exactly," Elon said, his eyes lighting up. "No one should know it's me. I want them to experience Santa's magic, not think about who's behind the costume." The team got to work immediately. Hours turned into days as they researched shelters around Los Angeles. Lisa presented their findings at the next meeting. "We found one that's perfect," she said, projecting images of a community center onto the screen. "It's called the Silver Star Shelter. They run incredible programs for kids, but they're struggling with funding. They could use a morale boost." Elon nodded, his mind already leaping ahead. "Let's focus on making it personal. We'll get a list of the kids staying there and what they need or wish for." The logistics were immense, but Elon approached them with the same meticulousness he applied to launching rockets. A professional costume designer was hired to craft the perfect Santa suit, complete with an authentic beard and boots. Elon practiced his ho-ho-ho in private, chuckling at the absurdity of it all. Meanwhile, his team worked on gathering gifts. It wasn't just toys. There were warm jackets, school supplies, and handwritten notes from Santa. Each present was thoughtfully curated to ensure every child felt seen and valued. By the end of the week, the pieces were coming together. Elon stood in his Tesla design studio, staring at the completed Santa costume on a mannequin. It was perfect, right down to the fur-trimmed hat. "This is going to be incredible," he murmured to himself, envisioning the moment he'd walk into the shelter. For the first time in years, Elon Musk felt the pure excitement of an adventure, not driven by innovation, but by the simple joy of giving. The SpaceX Design Lab, usually humming with the sound of engineers discussing trajectories and rocket schematics, was uncharacteristically festive. Wrapping paper, bows, and boxes filled the room, transforming it into a temporary workshop. Elon Musk, dressed in casual jeans and a SpaceX hoodie, stood at a long table meticulously wrapping presents. Despite his wealth and resources, he insisted on doing this himself, even if it meant learning the art of perfect gift wrapping from a YouTube tutorial. "Elon," Lisa said, laughing as she watched his third attempt at wrapping a particularly stubbornly shaped gift. "You're supposed to fold the edges in, not crumple them." "I know," he replied, his tone mock serious. "Rocket science is easier than this." The room was alive with chatter as his team worked alongside him, assembling gifts tailored to each child. One assistant organized a table filled with toys, another packed books, and yet another sorted through racks of warm clothing. The gifts were more than just presents. Each one represented a deep dive into what the children needed and wanted. A 10-year-old boy who loved drawing would receive a sketch pad and colored pencils. A little girl passionate about science would unwrap a beginner's chemistry set. But Elon wasn't done. At the center of his plans was a personal touch, handwritten notes for each child. Sitting down with a stack of cards, he carefully wrote messages as Santa, each one filled with encouragement and warmth. To Mia, a shy 7-year-old with a love for animals, he wrote, "Dear Mia, your kind heart is your greatest gift. Keep dreaming big, and one day you'll make the world a better place. Merry Christmas. Love, Santa." Elon took breaks to rehearse his role as Santa. In front of a mirror, he practiced his jolly laugh and cheerful tone, occasionally startling his team with an overly enthusiastic "ho ho ho." He even tested his ability to walk in the heavy Santa boots, pacing around the room with exaggerated strides. The preparations were exhausting but exhilarating. By the end of the day, the gifts were wrapped, the sack was full, and Elon stood by the Santa costume, ready for the big day. "This isn't about the gifts," he murmured to himself, adjusting the fur-lined hat. "It's about making them believe, just for a moment, that magic is real." Christmas Eve arrived with a crisp chill in the air, and the Silver Star shelter glowed faintly in the soft light of holiday decorations. The staff had strung garlands along the walls and placed a modest but lovingly decorated Christmas tree in the corner. Laughter and excited chatter filled the air as volunteers finished last-minute preparations. Outside, a sleigh-like van pulled up, its red exterior gleaming. Elon Musk, now completely unrecognizable in his Santa suit, stepped out, adjusting his beard and hefting the oversized sack of gifts onto his shoulder. His costume was flawless. Plush red velvet, polished black boots, and a fur-trimmed hat perched jauntily on his head. The transformation was complete. Inside, the children sat quietly, some fidgeting nervously. For many of them, this was their first Christmas in the shelter, a stark contrast to the holiday magic they had only seen in movies or imagined in their dreams. The staff exchanged knowing glances, trying to hide their anticipation. The doors opened with a creak, and a booming "ho, ho, ho" echoed through the room. Heads turned, and the children's eyes widened as Santa stepped inside, his sack brimming with gifts. "Merry Christmas," Elon called out, in a voice that was equal parts joy and warmth. At first, the children hesitated, unsure whether to approach. A few clung to the hands of volunteers, their wide eyes filled with both excitement and caution. But Elon crouched down, smiling gently beneath his snowy beard. "Come on, little ones," he said, his tone inviting. "Santa's here for you." The youngest of the group, a curly-haired boy clutching a worn teddy bear, took the first step forward. Elon reached into his sack and handed him a brightly wrapped gift. "This one's just for you," he said, winking. The boy's hesitant smile grew, and soon the room was alive with the sound of children laughing and tearing into their presents. The staff stood back, some wiping away tears as they watched the children come alive with joy. Elon moved through the room with care, stopping to talk to each child, asking about their favorite things, and encouraging their dreams. To an older girl with a love for books, he said, "A reader today, a leader tomorrow. Never stop learning." The once quiet room transformed into a place of magic and laughter, a moment of joy these children would never forget. And amidst it all, Santa continued his work, ensuring that every child felt seen, valued, and loved. The room buzzed with the excitement of unwrapping gifts, the soft rustle of wrapping paper mixing with bursts of laughter and delighted squeals. Elon, still dressed as Santa, moved through the group with ease, his bag of presents gradually emptying as he handed out each gift with a personalized touch. To a young boy who loved rockets, he said, "I hear you're destined for space one day." To a budding artist, he added, "Keep drawing, little one, the world needs your imagination." The children warmed up to him quickly, their initial hesitance melting away in the glow of his kindness. He crouched down to their level, looking each child in the eye as he listened to their stories and wishes. Some wanted toys or books. Others spoke of dreams that went far beyond material gifts, dreams of stability, of family, of safety. In the midst of the cheerful chaos, a shy girl stood off to the side, clutching a threadbare stuffed animal. Her dark eyes followed Santa intently, but she didn't approach. Elon noticed her almost immediately, her quiet demeanor a stark contrast to the exuberance around her. He approached slowly, crouching to meet her gaze. "And what's your name, little one?" he asked gently. "Mia," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Elon smiled beneath his snowy beard. "And what would you like for Christmas, Mia?" She hesitated, glancing down at her stuffed animal. Then, in a voice trembling with vulnerability, she said, "I want a home, not just for Christmas, for always." The words hit Elon like a punch to the chest. He paused, taking a steadying breath. Behind the cheerful exterior of the costume, he felt the full weight of her wish, a longing that no wrapped gift could fulfill. But he refused to let the moment pass without giving her hope. "Mia," he said, his voice steady but warm, "you're so brave to share that wish with me. I promise you this. Good things are possible. Never stop believing in that. And no matter where you are, remember that you are loved." She stared at him, her eyes glistening. Then, with a small smile, she reached out and hugged him tightly. Elon held her gently, his heart heavy, yet inspired by her strength. As Mia let go, Elon handed her a small, wrapped package. "Open this later," he said with a wink. "It's from Santa, but it's also a reminder that dreams can come true." As the evening wore on, the energy in the room began to settle. The children, now clutching their gifts and chatting animatedly, gathered near a makeshift fireplace, a row of fairy lights wrapped around a stack of books to mimic a warm holiday glow. Elon, still fully in character as Santa, sat down in a large chair near the fire, beckoning the children to join him. "Gather around, little ones," he said, his voice rich and inviting. "It's time for a Christmas story." The children eagerly took their places, some sitting cross-legged on the floor, others leaning against volunteers. Even Mia, still clutching her stuffed animal, found a spot close to Santa, her eyes wide with anticipation. Elon opened a large book, its pages blank save for the story he would tell. His voice softened as he began, weaving a tale about a young reindeer named Rudy who dreamed of pulling Santa's sleigh. But Rudy wasn't like the other reindeer. His hooves were small, and his antlers hadn't yet grown. The other reindeer teased him, but Rudy never stopped believing in himself. As the story unfolded, the children hung on every word. They laughed when Rudy stumbled in his first flying lesson and gasped when he got lost in a snowstorm. Elon wove themes of resilience and kindness into the narrative, showing how Rudy's heart and determination made him a hero, even when he felt small and overlooked. But Rudy didn't become a hero by being perfect, Elon said, his voice filled with warmth. He became a hero because he never gave up, and he always helped others, even when it was hard. By the time the story ended, the room was filled with a quiet magic. The children were smiling, their faces lit with wonder. Mia, sitting closest to Santa, spoke up shyly. Did Rudy ever stop believing in himself? Elon leaned forward, meeting her gaze. Not for a moment, he said, and because of that, he helped others believe too. The children erupted into applause, some of them hugging each other, others rushing to thank Santa for the story. For a moment, the hardships they faced outside these walls seemed to fade, replaced by the warmth of the story's message. As the children dispersed, Elon looked out at the room, feeling a profound sense of gratitude. The magic of the evening wasn't in the gifts or the costume, it was in the connection. And as the glow of the makeshift fireplace reflected in their eyes, Elon knew that this was a moment they would carry with them long after the holidays. The warmth of the evening began to settle into a quiet calm as the children played with their new gifts, or chatted with one another. The once bustling room now hummed with a softer energy, punctuated by occasional laughter. Elon, still in his Santa costume, found a moment to step aside with the shelter director, a kind woman named Margaret, whose years of dedication showed in the gentle lines on her face and the warmth in her eyes. Margaret poured 2 cups of coffee in the small, tidy kitchen, offering one to Elon. "You've brought so much joy to these kids tonight," she said, her voice filled with gratitude. "I don't think they'll ever forget this." Elon took the cup, sitting on a worn but sturdy chair. "They've given me more than I could ever give them," he replied, his tone thoughtful. "But I can't help but wonder, what happens after tonight?" Margaret sighed, her hands wrapped around her own cup as she leaned against the counter. "That's the hard part. The holidays are a beautiful distraction, but once they're over, we're back to the same challenges. Funding is always tight, and there's never enough to go around. We rely on donations to cover essentials, food, clothing, even heating in the winter. But what these kids need most is stability, and that's the hardest thing to provide." Her words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of reality. Elon nodded, his mind already working through possible solutions. What about housing programs? Job training for parents? Anything to help them break the cycle? Margaret smiled faintly. "We try. We partner with local organizations, but the resources are limited, and the pandemic didn't make it any easier. Every family here has a story, some heartbreaking, others hopeful, but they all deserve a chance." Elon's gaze wandered to the children, who were now huddled around Mia as she showed off her new stuffed animal. "They're incredible," he said softly. "Resilient, kind, full of potential. It's hard to believe the world doesn't see what they're capable of." Margaret nodded. "That's why we do what we do, but it's a constant uphill battle." Elon placed his cup down, his expression resolute. "You're not going to fight it alone anymore. I'll make sure of that." Margaret's eyes widened, but before she could respond, Elon continued, "Not just donations, something sustainable, programs, infrastructure, whatever it takes to give these kids a real shot." For a moment, Margaret was silent, her emotions wavering between disbelief and gratitude. "Thank you," she finally said, her voice trembling slightly. "You don't know what this means." Elon glanced back at the children, a quiet determination settling over him. "I think I'm beginning to." The evening was drawing to a close. The children, their energy waning after hours of excitement, gathered for one last goodbye with Santa. Elon, his sack now empty, made his rounds, exchanging hugs and high fives. The room was filled with a warm, glowing contentment. One of the older boys, a mischievous teenager named Marcus, stood at the edge of the group, his arms crossed but his eyes glinting with curiosity. "Hey, Santa," he called out with a playful grin. "Is that beard real?" Elon chuckled, stroking the snowy white beard. "Of course, young man. Santa's beard is as real as his sleigh." Marcus wasn't convinced. With a quick, daring move, he reached out and tugged at the beard. It came loose with a soft snap, revealing the face beneath. Gasps filled the room, followed by an almost eerie silence. The children stared, their wide eyes darting between the detached beard in Marcus's hand and the familiar face now fully visible. It took a moment for the recognition to sink in. "You're," Marcus stammered, his jaw dropping. "You're Elon Musk." A wave of whispers swept through the room, the name rippling like a tide. The younger children didn't fully grasp the significance, but the older ones were visibly stunned. Even the staff exchanged astonished glances, their expressions a mix of disbelief and awe. Elon smiled sheepishly, holding up his hands. Surprise. The silence broke into a buzz of excitement. The children surged toward him, their questions tumbling over one another. "Are you really him? Why did you dress as Santa? Did you come in a Tesla sleigh?" Elon crouched down, meeting their eager faces with a warm grin. "Yes, it's me. But tonight wasn't about Elon Musk. It was about Santa, and making sure you all had the Christmas you deserve." Mia stepped forward, clutching her stuffed animal tightly. Her voice was small but clear. "You're the best Santa ever." Elon's heart swelled at her words. He placed a hand gently on her shoulder. "And you're the reason Santa does what he does." The room filled with laughter and chatter as the children processed the revelation. The staff, still recovering from their shock, approached Elon with smiles of gratitude. Margaret stood at the back, watching the scene unfold with a tearful smile. For the children of the Silver Star Shelter, this was a Christmas they would never forget, not because of the gifts or the celebrity behind the beard, but because they felt seen, valued, and loved. And for Elon, it was a reminder of the power of connection, the kind that transcends wealth, fame, and even a Santa suit. The room gradually quieted as Elon stood, the white beard still hanging from Marcus's hand, and his red suit now slightly rumpled. The children, staff, and volunteers looked at him with a mixture of awe and curiosity. Elon raised his hand slightly to gather their attention, his expression shifting from playful to earnest. "Tonight I didn't come here as Elon Musk," he began, his voice calm but full of emotion. "I came as Santa because I wanted to remind you that magic isn't about flying reindeer or sleighs. It's about how we care for one another, how we see each other, and how we lift each other up." The children listened intently, their earlier excitement giving way to quiet reflection. The staff, many with tears glistening in their eyes, stood motionless, hanging on his every word. "The truth is," Elon continued, his gaze sweeping across the room, "the holidays can be a hard time for many people. But they're also a time when we have the power to make a difference. A kind word, a thoughtful gift, or even just listening to someone's story. Those things matter more than you can imagine." He paused, his voice softening. "What I've seen here tonight, the laughter, the love, the resilience of everyone in this room, has inspired me. This shelter, this community, is doing incredible work, but it shouldn't have to struggle to provide basic needs for these amazing kids and their families." Turning to Margaret, he smiled warmly. "Margaret, the work you do here is invaluable, and I want to help ensure you can keep doing it, not just for these children, but for all the families who will come through your doors." Reaching into his coat pocket, Elon pulled out an envelope and handed it to Margaret. Her hands trembled as she opened it, revealing a check with a significant figure. Gasps echoed through the room as the staff gathered closer, peeking over her shoulder. "This is just the beginning," Elon said. "We'll also be funding programs for housing, education, and job training to help these families not just get by, but thrive. Everyone here deserves dignity, stability, and joy, not just during the holidays, but every day. The room erupted into applause, a wave of gratitude and emotion sweeping through the crowd. Margaret wiped away tears as she embraced Elon. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice breaking. "You have no idea how much this means." Elon turned back to the children, his smile returning. "Now let's make sure this Christmas is one you'll always remember." The night wound down, the earlier energy replaced by a gentle stillness. The children clutched their gifts, their faces glowing with contentment as they sat with their families. Elon moved through the room, taking a moment to speak with each child, his red suit now symbolic not just of Santa, but of the generosity he embodied that evening. Mia approached him quietly, her stuffed animal still tucked under her arm. She looked up at him, her dark eyes filled with a mix of gratitude and wonder. "Thank you, Santa," she whispered. "You made my wish come true." Elon knelt to her level, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Never stop dreaming, Mia," he said softly. "You have so much strength and kindness in your heart. Those things can change the world." She hugged him tightly, her small arms wrapped around his neck. "You're the best Santa ever," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. Elon held her for a moment, his heart swelling. "And you're one of the bravest kids I've ever met." As the clock struck late, it was time for Elon to leave. The children gathered by the doorway, waving and calling out their goodbyes. The staff and volunteers stood by, their faces radiant with gratitude. Margaret stepped forward one last time, shaking Elon's hand firmly. "You've given us more than just gifts tonight. You've given us hope." Elon nodded, his own voice thick with emotion. "And you've given me a reason to keep doing this. Thank you." As he stepped outside into the crisp night air, Elon paused for a moment, looking back at the warmly lit shelter. The sounds of laughter and joy carried out into the quiet street, a testament to the evening's success. He climbed into the sleigh-like van, the red suit still clinging to him, and leaned back, his thoughts racing. The night wasn't just a moment of giving, it was a reminder of what truly mattered. In a world often dominated by ambition and innovation, there was unparalleled value in human connection and compassion. As the van drove away, Elon stared out the window at the city lights. His mind was already brimming with ideas, ways to expand on this work, to reach more children and families, to use his influence for something far greater than himself. For tonight, though, he allowed himself a rare moment of peace, a small smile playing on his lips as he whispered, "Merry Christmas to all." Want to hear more of this? Then click on the video on the right-hand side, which is even crazier.